So it's a good question. So Rylan asked, I mentioned I've talked a lot about Cocos 2D. He asked if I've used other frameworks and if other frameworks are easier to do this sort of decoupled architecture. The answer is yes, and sometimes. So I've done XNA, which is very similar, and Unity is extremely similar. Actually, the Unity framework, I've done a very similar thing, where I wrote a C# DLL. That was my game, and I just brought it into Unity. And that's actually where the notion of, instead of having observer patterns, using your update loop comes from, to have that update the screen. It's kind of a backwards update loop. Instead of you updating the system in update, you're now taking the system and updating the screen. All right. Well, nobody else is putting hands up, so I can move on. But feel free to jump in. All right, so we can move our bucket back and forth, provided you don't do anything naughty. Now we need a bomber. If you remember from the original game, there's someone dropping bombs. Your job is to catch them. The bomber moves back and forth, dropping them. So once again, I sat down, I gave this a lot of thought, and I came up with this class diagram, which, since this only has one message to it as opposed to two, is actually smaller than the old one. The reason is, initially I thought, well, the bomber should have bombs. I thought the same things about buckets. The bucket should have a collection of buckets. And that might be true. I haven't done any of that yet. I don't have any compelling reasons for those things. So I'm going to need a bomber. He's going to need to move back and forth. And it's funny how TDD works, right? So I write my first test, and you can tell